Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Just a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. Please turn off your cell phones, or at least turn them to silent, and no flash photography is permitted during the panel. Okay? And Scorpio Theater will be with you guys momentarily.
Hi, everybody. How's it going? So we are here. How many of you guys saw the Doctor Who panel earlier today?
Right? All of you. Good.
They were fantastic. Okay, my name is Chimin Kendram. I am the moderator for this panel, and it's a pleasure to have you all here. I would like to introduce our guests. We've got Dan Gibbons, who is the director of Who Knows. Ted Locke, who is an actor, and he's playing the character Russell. Tawny Barton, who is playing the character of Sarah James. And we've got Braden Thorvaldsen, I can't do this, Thorvaldsen, who's playing Fraser Patrick. And at the end is Sam Robb, who's the stage manager. So, Dan, tell us a little bit about, now you're with Scorpio Theater. Who is Scorpio Theater, and where do you guys perform?
Scorpio Theater is a local company that I founded back in 2000. We started with the mandate of doing primarily original works. Now we focus on doing works that are new or seldom seen in Calgary, such as the Canadian premiere of Who Knows, which is one we're here to talk about. Started off mostly in comedy. We moved into all sorts of genres. We had a fairly popular adaptation of Three Musketeers back in 2007. A lot of people may have heard of our recent run of Reservoir Dogs. There's one. And we perform out of the Pump House Theater, which is maybe 5-7 minute drive from here on light traffic, because you got to go through downtown.
So, and tell us about the play. Who Knows? What's it about?
So, Who Knows is about the Doctor Who fan club of Okotoks. Originally the Doctor Who fan club of Hobart, Tasmania, but I was given permission to Canadianize it rather than teach 6 people to do Australian accents. They're putting on the very first Doctor Who convention of Alberta when a sinister plot starts to form in the background. The president of the club goes missing in the cold open, and then forces begin to mount. In the second act, they end up in what seems very similar to a Doctor Who episode of their own, as Russell, who is turning 30 and has little to show for it other than a part-time job at a laundromat he just lost, and a girlfriend he's afraid to tell anybody about because his more successful older brother stole his fiancée 3 years ago. So now he's got to deal with this crisis in the club and the return of his more successful older brother, while dealing with the pressure of turning 30 and learning that maybe it doesn't take 2 hearts to be a hero.
I think this is a really good segue to see the trailer, and then we'll meet the rest of the cast and crew here.
Let's do it.
I've been running all my life. Every second of every day, from reality, from responsibility. Running from family that abandoned and betrayed me.
Wow, we're getting the trailer
Control
fixed.
Alt Z. Let's go back.
Almost.
Almost.
I've been running all my life.
Excuse us while we deal with some technical difficulties.
So why don't we start? Russell, tell us about your role in the play.
All right. So I play Russell, the poor 30-something who's lost his fiancée to his older brother. My character is pretty much an everyman, very similar to most attendees
I've
to the
been
con.
running
Oh,
all my
Here
life.
we go.
oh, good.
Every second of every day, from reality, from responsibility. Running from family that abandoned and betrayed me. Running from everything I've ever known.
I have endured an eternity of impotence and darkness. I shall not be denied now.
But it's time to stop running.
Once we have control of the fan club, I'm planning on hiring a few minions. Maybe redecorate a little.
Will you just listen to yourselves? What sort of fantasy world do you live in? A very good one, thank you.
Soon it shall belong to spooky old not to be trusted me.
Just because this is never going to work, that's no reason to be negative.
Russell, you're not the doctor.
Maybe this is my chance.
The first question. The question that must never be answered. The question I've been running from all my life. Who knows?
You know those don't actually work, right?
Right.
Yeah, sure.
Of course not.
Who knows?
So Ted, you were telling us a little bit about your character.
Yes. So Russell's pretty much kind of an everyman, down on his luck, never really amounted to much in his own life. He's really worried about his situation with his family. His brother just kind of shows up out of the blue, and he's trying to deal with that. He has a girlfriend that he's keeping secret from everybody else because he's worried about messing it up. And towards the end of the show, he starts to go through a bit of a metamorphosis and kind of becomes his own version of the Doctor at the end. And that kind of gives him the self-confidence and the impetus to actually break out of his shell and actually make something of himself.
So, and Tawny, you played a girlfriend?
I do, yes. I play Sarah James, which is the love interest of Mr. Russell. I work in a hotel, which is where the story kind of takes place. And I'm getting very sick and tired of being a second fiddle to a not-so-nice person that'll dump their fiance for their brother. So I'm sorry I'm not as eloquent as the rest of you. Yeah, I'm always trying to push him to be better, and because I know that he's capable of being his own doctor. So I'm always trying to push him in that direction and support him.
And Braden, what's your character?
My character's name is Fraser Patrick, and basically he's kind of he's the youngest member of the Doctor Who fan club of Okotoks, and basically this is sort of what he's based a lot of his life around. Like he can basically just rattle off trivia left, right, center. He's even learned the recorder because of the second Doctor, of a sorts. You'll see. And basically, yeah. One of the things that he's tried hard to keep from everybody is his affection for Russell.
Ooh. So now at the end we've got Sam. Sam, you're the stage manager, so you're in charge of making sure everything runs. Does this play have a bit of a science fiction element? Is there special effects?
We have. Is this on? Yes. Okay. Yeah, we have some like really cool lighting and sound effects. Definitely lots of interesting sound effects that are going to happen. Big sequences, time to music, which is always a nightmare for stage managers, but super fun for the audience. So that'll be exciting. And really cool set pieces, which everyone will be very excited to see, I'm sure.
Giant Dalek. Come.
Wouldn't be complete without a big old Dalek.
So
really
are you guys all Doctor Who fans?
Not, well, to varying extents. Ted and I go way back. I've been a Doctor Who fan since watching Tom Baker on PBS back in a year some of you may have read about in school called the early 80s.
I go back. I'd kind of same lines as Dan. I'd seen a lot of the older serials and whatnot on TV, on PBS and CBC, but I didn't really get heavy into it until the reboot when they brought Eccleston in. And yeah, someone right over there, I think I heard. And then it really took off for me during the Tennant years, and I was really apprehensive about Matt Smith. Well, at first, come on. At first, until I saw the episodes, and then I went with it. So yeah, it's been a big part of my life too. So being able to play a guy who's obsessed with science fiction and has really no luck with the ladies is kind of second nature at this point in my life.
I guess I'm the newest inductee into the Whovian culture. I just started watching when I got the part, and I'm into season 4, so I'm a little obsessed, which is okay.
And I kind of started hearing about the show like about halfway through the 7th season, which was the transfer of companions, for the spoiler-free way of saying it. And basically with the collective, what? Why? What happened? On Facebook from all of my Whovian friends, I was just like, okay, fine, I'll check this out. 3 weeks later, I was all caught up.
I've seen Weeping Angels. I've seen that episode, and I've met Matt Smith. That's my extent of Doctor Who knowledge. But I know stage management.
So Dan, on your posters it says this is being presented by special permission of the BBC. How do you get special permission from the BBC?
Well, may not be the precise person to ask about that. That's actually Paul McIntyre, the playwright. He worked out a deal with the BBC because the play contains lines from or references to, he says, every episode going back to 1963. Now, not even I can name all of them, but every now and then I have to tell the actor, no, you do have to say it that way. It's a reference line. You can't change that one. You can't call it a flashlight. He has to say a torch would help.
Yeah.
Torch would. Even I didn't get that one at first. So it's just soaked in Who lore. Well, it's still remaining fairly accessible for newbies. The artistic director of the company, he's seen 2 or 3 episodes because I won't stop talking about the show. So if he liked the script, which he did, then we knew we were safe putting it up.
Oh, great. So why don't we open the floor to questions? Any questions? Yes.
Absolutely. The Scorpio Theater has a booth set up in Hall B.
Hall D,
Hall
booth
D.
Y03. Page 40, if you have a Calgary Expo program with you as well, we've got a full-page ad in it. Our website's listed there. You can go online and reserve your tickets that way as well.
You can also get these T-shirts at our booth, just saying.
Shameless plug for merch.
Like you do.
Right in front over there. So the question was, why is the man in the trailer running and running, and then he stops?
Well, it's like the Doctor is always running to the next thing. He's always running from everything he's left behind and moving to the next thing. That's kind of what Russell's been doing for the last decade of his life, is running from growing up and various other tragedies he's hit. And when the play starts, this is when he decides he needs to stop running and face everything. So we have him just stop the run and turn around in the trailer.
Is the play good for all ages?
We like to think so. There's mild coarse language, but if that proves to be a barrier, we're open to smoothing it out. The actress who plays our villain, Hilda, says that it's weird for her because she normally doesn't curse in real life, and I know one person who knows her personally says, but I would pay good money to see you do that. But it's, other than 2 curse words, it's smooth for all ages. It's like the Doctor Who that way. It's meant to appeal to the child in all of us, even if they are still a child themselves. Well, that's a challenge. The director of Reservoir Dogs, who's a friend of mine, he made it a point of, we're not just going to take the movie and put it on stage. We're going to find our own way to put a stamp on it. We're going to do things differently, and he did a lot of work with that, with the soundtrack and blocking different scenes. And since I've answered the last 5 questions, maybe Ted would like to talk about Act 2, Russell, finding his inner Doctor and how that's working for him.
Oh, Act 2's Russell. So kind of as we alluded to earlier, the second half of the show, it kind of goes from this realistic, natural kind of world feel to pretty much an episode of Doctor Who. So a lot of my acting inspiration has come from watching all the way through various Doctors, different stages, picking up ideas and cues of how these different actors approach the Doctor themselves. Tom Baker, for instance, just his complete disregard for anything that might seem dangerous, like someone's pointing a gun at you. Oh, that's okay, I'm the Doctor, it doesn't matter. For Eccleston, a lot of the cue lines that I have for that, or impressions that I'm doing for him, is mostly in the face. He was very facial, you know, kind of the goofy grin. Hey? Matt Smith, I need to put the mic down for this because he's all in the arms. And Tennant's pretty easy to do because he's just, hey? Like that. So kind of taking cues and tips from watching the various people, how they kind of performed the Doctors, what they gave to the character, and trying to mesh it all together, because by the end of Act 2, I needed to have Russell, as we kind of said earlier, become his own Doctor. So keeping the core of Russell intact, but still blending in a lot of those features, physicality, vocal intonations, that sort of thing, into his portrayal of the Doctor.
Which is the hardest Doctor to capture?
Eccleston is giving me a little bit of trouble right now. Tom Baker, in the play, it turns out Tom Baker is Russell's favorite Doctor, so I've been pulling a lot of Bakerisms into the show that way. But Eccleston, just because it was so short, truncated, he only had the 1 season, and there aren't a lot of reference lines pulled from Eccleston that I actually get to say.
Other than fantastic, he says that a lot.
I say fantastic a lot. And it's really hard not to do it with the accent after a while. It's really difficult.
Other questions? Yes.
Yeah. So
So we talked about it earlier. Apparently, the playwright got the endorsement, so we're not quite sure.
Yeah, I'm not entirely positive how he pulled that off. They were just, and this goes back to 2009, so it wasn't just a 50th anniversary thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Guys, that might be a good one for you too.
Connie, your character is strangely named like a companion.
Yes, my character is named after Sarah Jane Smith, and I'm not too familiar with Sarah Jane just because I started at the 2005 reboot, I suppose, and so I just. I'm not really sure if there's many. I don't. I've kind of just had to put my own spin on it, just because I haven't had a lot of experience seeing the different companions. I've gotten through a few, but there's not really one or two that really stick out necessarily. That'll. She's kind of her own companion. She has her own little catchphrase and.
The type of relationship that we have is almost like you would be the doctor and I would be the companion, because I seem to be just bumbling around trying to follow your lead most of the show.
Yeah.
Costume-wise, we have a lot of call-outs. There's an Amy Pond costume that comes out for you, which I'm excited to have.
I get a kilt, which he is not as excited about.
He goes full Scottish for the kilt, so yeah.
Which is calling back to Patrick Troughton's longtime companion, Jamie McCrinnan, for those keeping score.
You know, the companions often don't get a lot of attention in these conventions. Who's a favorite companion? For those of you who are fans of the show.
Ooh. Amy Pond, no question. Right in the feels.
Yeah, I have to go with Pond as well.
She's pretty adorable. I do like her. But then I also really liked the relationship that Billy Piper had with, David Tennant specifically. I'm a Tennant. I like him a lot.
It's the hair. It's the hair.
Oh, I want to run my fingers through that hair.
Any other questions from the audience?
Oh, good Lord. Would you like a jelly baby? Although I don't really ever get to say that one. Fantastic, I bust out a lot. My giddy aunt, I get to say. God, Lord, what else is there?
You've got one Geronimo in there.
Yeah, I've got a Geronimo near the end. I get to bust out the Geronimo. Nope, no allons-y. No allons-y.
I've adapted that as my own personal.
Yeah. You get to work in a few allons-ys here and there. Yeah. Oh, good. There's so many. A lot of Russell's lines in the show, when we went through it, the first part of my book work I did as an actor is I just went and every single line I had, I just typed the whole line into Google search and then added Doctor Who quote at the end. And about 90% of them came up as either Baker. There's a lot of Baker in there. There's a few
there
Matt
would be.
Smith.
He's the longest running.
He's the longest running and Russell's favorite. There's a article of clothing that is Baker-esque. Other than, we've got the scarf, but there's a little more undergarment merchandise that Russell gets to wear at one point, let's say.
That's going to be a special treat
I'm
for the
excited
audience.
for that part.
Yeah. One of the other actresses who isn't here, Sandy, she also gets to swear. She plays the Hilda who was stroking the TARDIS in the trailer there and giggling maniacally. There's a rather awkward happy birthday scene between her and I.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
If you guys leave the play thinking the same way of happy birthday as you did at the beginning, we didn't do our jobs right.
Yeah.
Still scarred.
Dan, as a director, are you trying to direct the play so it looks like a Doctor Who episode?
In Act 2, more so than Act 1. Act 1 is the opening where everything is still relatively normal, but there's just this hint that something's gone wrong, because in the first 30 seconds, the president of the fan club is abducted through mysterious circumstances. Act 2, we aim to try to capture a little bit more of the feel of the episode, but what I most like about the script is it really captures what's made it an enduring franchise for 5 decades, and that is, as Craig Ferguson once put it best, the idea of the triumph of intellect and romance over brute force and cynicism. So there's a lot of that. There's a lot of the humor. There's a lot of the hearts, if you will, all through the script.
Yeah, the second act really picks up the pace a lot, and it almost runs exactly like your standard 42 and a half, 50 minutes of any Doctor Who episode. It's been a joy to run. That second act is a whirlwind of energy, ridiculousness,
emotion.
Yeah.
So, Sam, has there been anything particularly challenging for you in trying to put the show together from a stage management point of view?
Okay, this is my first...
You should actually explain what stage management is to everybody here.
So the stage manager is essentially the person who is responsible for making sure everything's on time, everything gets written down, all the blocking gets recorded. What else do I do? And then at the show I call like the lighting cues and the sound cues and make sure that everyone knows where they're at.
Sam's also the one that gives me crap when I say it's instead of it is.
What?
When I mess up a line,
Yeah,
cue line,
right.
that kind of
I
thing.
do line cues stuff, but
And she will yell at us if we're late to rehearsals. That'll happen.
Beatings.
beatings, savage beatings.
Frequent beatings.
So is there anything particularly unique about this show that's given a challenge, that's challenging in your role?
Yeah, so I'm pretty recently out of theater school. This is like my second year out of it, and I've never done any stage management besides in school. So this is my first time actually tackling a real show on my own. I mean, I have the help of Daisy Pond over there. She's my mentor. But no, like so far it hasn't really been that challenging for me, but it's a lot of fun.
Oh, it'll get there.
It'll get there. This one's a challenge, the director. Gotta keep him focused.
Just by virtue of the way the show kind of plays out, I mean, especially now that we've all started to watch Doctor Who or have been watching it for a long time, we all have frequent little bouts of giggle fits when we hit certain lines or little inside jokes around in the show. So it's really great to have Sam on hand to keep us on track, because otherwise we would just sit there and reminisce about all the episodes we just watched.
Exactly, and I'm not there to reminisce with them, so I'm like, all right, guys, I don't know what you're talking about. Let's move on, you know?
Yes.
Dan, maybe you can
Well,
go down the line.
I'm still one of the main contact addresses for the company as founder and still board president. So I was included in the email when Paul McIntyre, the playwright, solicited or cold called us via email, whatever you want to call that, with the script idea or with the script last spring. And then I basically took it to the artistic director saying, I think we should do this, and by the way, who else is going to direct this? Really? I am the resident expert.
So the author cold called you from Australia?
Well, not cold call. He emailed us. He didn't actually phone us.
Well, who uses a phone?
Yeah. The long distance would have been outrageous, and he would have caught me at 3 in the morning. We're like, what are you talking about? But yeah, he just found us online, thought we'd be a good fit, and we happened to agree.
That's very interesting. Does that happen often in the theater?
It can. That's also how we got another big hit of ours from 2 years back, which was a dark urbanization of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland.
Yay!
Which
that's how they got me. Like that was my first show with them. That was my first show, period. And 2 years later, when I saw the audition notice, I'm just like, okay, I really, really, really have to at least audition. And wonder of wonders, they cast me.
Yeah, I just got the audition notice as well, and this is my second show outside of school, so that's a privilege. It's so much fun.
I've been doing theater off and on in the city here for the past, oh Lord, what, 15, 20 years just about now?
Something like.
So I'd been with several other theater companies in the past, and just recently joined up in doing background behind the stuff scenes with Scorpio, working on publicity and marketing for them. And when I heard the show was coming, that they were holding auditions for Who Knows, I jumped at the chance. I love the character of Russell. I've told Dan numerous times and other people as well, this is about the closest I will ever get to playing the Doctor, so I'm going to play the crud out of it. And it's fast becoming probably my favorite show that I've ever done. The last time I was on stage was a couple years ago. We did Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere here in town for the Canadian premiere, and that was a really enjoyable time. And I thought, why not do it again with Scorpio this time around and do a Who Knows? And it's been fantastic. Fantastic, Rose. Fantastic.
Yes.
Sorry, again?
The episode Love and Monsters.
I like that episode.
It's a good episode.
Well, there's a reference to Love and Monsters in there, certainly. That's one of the ones I can identify, as there's a brief argument over whether the unseen committee member Megan suffers from eczema or eczema. I know that has a huge impact. I think we found that the two episodes that have the most influence over the script and the references are City of Death with Tom Baker and Romana running around Paris, and the 50th anniversary, which she sent me a new draft a week or so after the 50th anniversary, and it was loaded with little cute cutaways to that. Well, I will now.
So, what do you mean the missing episode?
There's a few. BBC had a really archaic idea about, we've got all this film stock. Let's just tape over old stuff. If there's any Monty Python fans in the house, the only reason that Monty Python exists on DVD or on tape right now is because people from Monty Python actually bought the physical reels. Otherwise, the BBC was just going to record right over them. And so there's a batch of, I think, Hartnell episodes.
Hartnell and Troughton.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Hartnell and Troughton that are just gone because the BBC taped over them. So unless someone had them recorded somehow or something like that, the original copies totally don't exist.
Actually becomes a bit of a plot point in Who Knows, because Hilda, the founder of the club and one of our primary villains, was actually in a Patrick Troughton serial as the third fish person from the right, but that's one of the ones the BBC lost, and she's still a little upset.
So do you have to get permission from the real Okotoks Doctor Who fan club to do this?
Well, they haven't called me yet.
Let's just give them free tickets or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
They get angry.
Free tickets? Discounted. Discounted.
Discounted, smart man. Yeah.
I try.
I got a question just really about the theater scene in Calgary, because in Calgary you have an astonishing, I think astonishing for a city of its size, wide range of theater. And just tell us what it's like to work as an artist in this community, and for a small company like Scorpio to be in this ecosystem.
Well, it's a bit of a challenge in that there is a vibrant theater community that is fighting for space, because rehearsal performance spaces are not quite as flourishing as the companies looking to use them. It's nice that there is something out there for everybody. A few years ago, I was doing this fringe play called Heracles, The Mythologically Accurate Adventures, which was just 60 minutes of ridiculous jokes and starring a man in a toga. And I saw this other play by this other company that was utterly dark. It was soul-shredding. It was 2 hours of human suffering with no intermission. I thought, okay, good. That's being covered. I could just go back and do my thing, knowing that is handled. But there's a very excellent community for the non-professional theaters called Calgary Acts, the Calgary Alliance of Community Theaters, that Scorpio's a proud member of, and it's just a way for all the non-professional companies to really support each other.
Yeah, I'm signed up with that mailing list, which is how I heard about the audition in the first place. They're posting things all the time, doing things all the time, and you just gotta get out there and try.
Yeah. Don't want to burst anyone's bubble, but I think the biggest thing you could say about theater in Calgary is that we all got day jobs, right? Like you got a day job,
yeah,
I got a day job, you got
I
a
have
day
two.
job. It doesn't pay, but the people, like I've been very blessed working with a lot of the companies that I got to work with because we're all very passionate and we all really love it. I mean, in some cases you're giving up 4 hours a night, 6 days a week, or 3 hours a night, 3 times a week over 2 months, and just because you love it. There's no real pay monetarily, but the payoff just comes from the relationships, the friendships, the work itself, being able to actually be a part of a show that you feel will be really special, will impact people's lives. And something like this, I mean, if it wasn't for being a part of Who Knows Scorpio Theater, I never would have got to sit up here and talk to some people sitting in the audience about a show, about a bunch of nerds running around putting a convention together. So it's really afforded me a lot of opportunities to really get out there and express myself as an artist.
We got time for like one more question, if there is one. Yes.
Haven't seen much of that of the convention. Almost feel it's not too helpful because this would be a much smaller scale convention, similar to what the Expo here was 4 or 5 years ago, when the whole convention fit into the space now almost entirely reserved for media guests and our booth and the people next to our booth who are not our booth.
So Dan, tell us, remind us again how people can buy tickets and the dates of the play.
You can reserve tickets at Scorpio.ca, which is our website. You can buy tickets at the Scorpio booth. We have been recommending booking in advance after Reservoir Dogs sold out on us a few weeks before we even opened. And it opens May 30th, runs through to June 7th. With special events such as our opening night gala and our Talkback Tuesday performance, where we'll look pretty much like this, with us sitting up front answering questions from the audience.
That's great, and it's at the Pump House Theaters.
It's at the Pump House Theater in the Joyce Doolittle, which is the smaller one to your left as you come into the building.
That's great. Well, thank you very much, and best of luck with the show. Look forward to seeing it.
Thanks
for having us.
Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks.
Check, 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 check.